Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Need Some Introduction. In today's episode, we'll be breaking down the most recent episode of Paradise, the Hulu sci-fi thriller series. 5 episodes in already. Joining me for this conversation, as usual, is Darren. How are you doing, Darren?
I'm pretty good, Victor. Yeah, how about yourself?
All things considered, considering the world is a mess, I'm doing okay. And the weather's beautiful around here, so we gotta enjoying the weather. Going for bike rides.
Excellent.
Having a few nice warm days finally in a row here.
Oh, that's great. You were snowed in a week ago and now you're having bike rides, so that's amazing.
Yeah, we had 2 feet of snow, and then, about a week. Over the course of the week, it was barely above freezing. We got like one day where it got to about 50 degrees here, which is like around 20 something. I mean, what are you guys? Maybe 20. And now it's, and by the way, we went out in like t-shirts last weekend because it might as well with that temperature, considering how utterly brutal it's been recently. And we not only had the past 2 days, it's been over 60 degrees here, but tomorrow's supposed to be the 70s. So it's that's like warm even by spring temperature accounts. So we're enjoying the weather. Everybody's outside. All the kids are playing with each other. I love hearing it. Like the kids ring the doorbell as soon as my daughter gets home from school asking to play outside. I'm like, thank God. We're not all stuck at home. And the sun was out today. So I can't complain. All things considered.
Amazing. Yes, great that we both live in parts of the world that are relatively unaffected by
exactly
external forces. Yeah,
exactly. We have to really count our blessings when we think about all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, if the Caldera explodes, apparently Australia's the first to go. So we had to break a teeth.
We're gone. Yeah, straight away. We're very close to Antarctica, so completely underwater. Done.
So a couple of follow-ups on that. Actually, I was fascinated by this because I'm not sitting around. Obviously, there's a lot of variability and like elevations, but I never really sit around thinking about like, well, what's the elevation of this location versus that location? And I was thinking about it, of course, given Paradise itself, that last season we saw when the tidal wave hit that the Washington Monument, and now Washington, D.C., I actually looked this up. It's the only reason I know this, is about 300 feet above water on average. And of course, the Washington Monument's another 100 and something feet above that. So we're looking at, 500 feet of water. So quite a lot of water. And I'm like, but Atlanta looks pretty, well managed, not in bad shape. And the city itself, and this is obviously not the city, it's the outskirts of the city. But Atlantis, I didn't realize this, is about 1,000 feet of elevation. So I guess the tidal wave wouldn't have really hit there. And then I did also look at like, well, what's the average elevation in Graceland, right? Because Graceland was not underwater when we saw them last week as well. And they're about only 300 feet above water. But of course, I'm sure that there'll be like some mountains and such that would have prevented the tidal wave from breaching. But so if anybody was curious about the how it's possible that these places survived this gigantic tidal wave, not Australia. Apparently, Australia is pretty flat by comparison, or maybe just so close to the eruption.
And also pretty flat. Yeah, you're right. It's not too many mountain ranges here, especially in this part of Australia where I am. What from the first season of Paradise, I thought 90%, 95% of the earth is gone,
right,
disappeared. Right. But as we go further and further in this show, there's more and more people around, and this whole bunker thing was really a bit of a ruse. I mean, you can survive out. There's plenty of bunkers. Apparently, post offices have bunkers underneath them, which is news to me. And I thought that was a quite interesting fact.
That was very cool. Yeah, I like this was actually interesting set design too. This idea that this place was probably built in the 60s and still kind of has a lot of the old, Red Scare type, iconography in it.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it was fun. To your point, I agree. They're kind of doing a little hand waving here. So either, I don't know if they've actually thought this out. To your point of season 1, that was basically the story that we were being told, right? That this is going to, the vast majority of the planet has been covered in ocean and destroyed, and very few people, just these random outposts of survivors. And we're like, wow, that's pretty incredible that given how rare life existed outside of there, that his wife survived. And then, exactly like you're saying that, and I guess the math kind of makes sense. So I don't know if they didn't think about it until this season and then kind of retroactively thought about the way this works, because even if DC was under hundreds of feet of water, the vast majority of the United States, for example, and probably many places all over the world, would not be underwater. So giant swaths of the country would be relatively unaffected. Of course, the vast majority of people, like in most continents, live near the water. So if they didn't get out very quickly, many, many people probably died when the tidal waves hit. But that does mean that tens of millions of people who are inland are probably relatively unaffected by this. And which, if, like you said, is very funny that basically the whole idea of what's happening inside that bunker, inside of Paradise, is that, well, if the cities are gone, well, then what's the point of even even going out and looking for survivors, which probably count in the tens of millions. But let's forget about those people.
Yeah, well, this show, it surprises me all along. I mean, after season 1, it doesn't seem like they had any idea where they were going to go,
yes,
the showrunners of this. And each episode of this second season is different again. But I've got to say, I quite liked this week.
Same.
It finally got us back to the actual goal of Xavier trying to find his wife, which seemed like it was the core of the show, apart from the little bits of the president being murdered and all of that stuff. It was really about Xavier and his wife, and he's closer than ever before to finding her. And we get to see, again, a flashback to the day, and seeing the just incredible coincidence of her coming across the mailman and finding a way to survive this thing.
Or was it a coincidence? But the if it is some kind of someone's pulling those levers to allow these events to occur, then no nosebleeds this week. However, we did get both an Elvis Presley cover in the Christmas Carol, Blue Christmas, and we also get a cover of Mrs. Jones, and we get the original. So we're mixing all the different thematic patterns we found in the previous episodes here in this.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I missed the Elvis cover, but I did like that Mr. Jones cover at the end, and I like that original. I like that it kind of set it back then when he was the mailman, and when that song came out, I guess would have been late 90s. So yeah. What else was I going to say? So you think it's not a coincidence that she came across those people, or are you just floating that idea? So maybe the car crash that she was involved in was supposed to happen and she was supposed to run into the mailman? I don't know about that.
I mean, I actually haven't thought all those elements out, but it does seem that, from, my theory, going back to my working theory, that every time we see these people have this kind of weird blurring, their heads get all blurry, and they, get a nosebleed, and then we see this flashback to the bunker, that it seems to, this is my theory, I could be wrong about this, but that it seemed to be like some kind of decision point, some decision that was made in that moment that allows something, whatever the overall mission that these people who are manipulating time are trying to get to. And so, for example, let's say that they need Xavier to get back there and to rescue his wife. And maybe if the plane crashed somewhere else, or he hadn't run into Annie, she wouldn't have rescued his, saved his life, and therefore have, he would have had a chance to rescue Terry, his wife. So, like that, that's where I'm trying to think is like, how many iterations I've gone through to kind of put these pawns on the board in the right order, in the right placement to allow this to happen. That's my theory.
Yeah, we can go with that. So a nosebleed and a massive headache would definitely cause a car to crash into some other car.
It could be. Yeah, it could be someone in the car. But I think if it was that one-to-one, I think, like, let's say she had got the car accident because she had a nosebleed. I think they would have shown us with her having the nosebleed. And then that would have, of course, clued us in that there was yet another pointer here. But maybe this was just what was going to happen to her, and all this, aligning of the stars is just to get Xavier back there. Maybe that's what's happening. So.
Yeah, to be honest, I enjoyed this episode because it didn't allude to any other episode.
That, correct.
Didn't touch on any of this time travel.
No time travel.
Floating.
Right.
No Venus effect. Barely any bunker as well. We've forgotten about the bunker again. We don't even need to go inside there, but we just need to talk about it and try to get back to it somehow.
Okay, so I had a couple of things I wanted to touch base before we get many more questions about the episode, by the way. So we'll definitely circle back to that. A couple of things you touched on one already. I finally researched this Venus syndrome, as they call it, and very unlikely, by the way. Of course, I mean, not that this is anything scientifically accurate depiction of things in this show, but it would be very unlikely that we would have any kind of Venus syndrome here on Earth. A few things. It is the proximity to the sun that allows the atmosphere to continue to become superheated, instantaneously evaporate all the oceans all over the world. So Venus, of course, is closer to the sun, of course. And beyond that, for there to have been anything like that had triggered on Venus, it would have had to have multiple calderas, like compounding one on top of the other. So does not seem to be the case here in this show. Again, I'm not saying they have to be scientifically accurate, but I just didn't want to square the circle because when they brought that up originally, I'm like, what is this thing you're talking about? But it is an actual thing. Some scientists believe that this is how Venus got its superheated atmosphere, but extremely unlikely, folks, that anything like that would happen here.
Interesting. You say the oceans just disappeared immediately?
Oh, it actually builds up. So the way this works, it's like a feedback loop, which they kind of touched on in the show as well. It's actually what they described where the atmosphere starts to get heated. There's a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere. It starts to compound. The atmospheric pressure starts to build, and then the oceans literally boil. So it's very apocalyptic, something like right out of Genesis or something. I mean, not Genesis, I should say Revelations, but not quite
incredible.
Not quite that terrifying.
Well, in this paradise world, anything can happen pretty quickly. So, yeah, let's not put it past them. I would love to see some lakes boiling.
That is what this crackpot scientist has warned people about, right? She believes this, right? Sinatra believes that is the future she's trying to prevent. And, I don't think we'd spent enough time on that last week as well, that final button on the episode where she seems to be like some villain who just wants everyone to be trapped in that paradise forever, and she's either lying about people going outside or she's trying to somehow prevent. But she seems like she thinks that she can somehow manipulate time to the extent where she can prevent all of this from happening. She thinks she can prevent the caldera from exploding because she's literally telling that baby, I want to make a world where you can go back out and see the real sky. So how is she going to prevent the caldera from exploding? That's she thinks she's a very powerful person. She thinks she can do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't take it that way. I just assumed that once everything clears up, then you can see the sky. But it sounds
once the atmosphere is evaporated and it all settles down.
Exactly. Yeah. If we go down that way, it's not going to happen, is it?
Right.
But if you go back in time, that baby's never going to be born. So,
good point. Yes. You can imagine how complicated it would be for her to try to set everything so straight that the baby's still born.
And it's going to be interesting what kind of time travel theory they're using, whether it's like the Back to the Future or something different. I just watched Primer, the movie Primer, a couple of weeks ago, and that's got a very interesting time travel storyline, which I still get lost towards the end of that. It still boggles the mind. But I'm wondering which one Paradise is keen to use.
Yeah, that is, Primer has its own with the whole doubling back the paradox of having multiple versions of yourself in the past. So interesting. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Have you ever seen Time Crimes? Have you ever watched Time Crimes?
No, I haven't. It's on my list. I think, it came up a couple of months ago. So it is on my list, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so good. It's such a great time travel story. My favorite, I think, of all of them ever. So just so clever in the way it deconstructs a noir and a time travel film at the same time. And the comedy, the resolution is so perfect. It just makes you laugh out loud. It's really clever stuff. Really good. Put that at the top of your list.
Okay. It's at the top of my list right now. I've just moved it.
Nice. Perfect. Okay. A couple other things I wanted to touch base with you on. One is we could just spend a minute on this, I think, unless you have more to talk about. But you did watch War Machine, right? This Netflix film that premiered this weekend, which I was kind of excited about. I'm all for a nice, meaty science fiction, shoot 'em up type alien invasion film. So I was looking forward to this. We have Reacher here as well. And what did you think of this movie?
Yeah, spoiler alert. I didn't know it was sci-fi when I started watching it. I didn't know anything about it. I just saw Reacher and went, oh, yeah, he is the War Machine. Yeah, so he's doing an 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of impressionist movie against ED-209 from RoboCop. Loved the robot. So cool. And it was a bit of a surprise that it turned into a bit of a sci-fi movie, but I thought it was pretty fun. I kept going, oh, maybe I should turn it off. I kept watching the whole thing, and I thought it was pretty exciting, to be honest. It was actually an Australian director, Australian writer. Yeah. It was shot in Victoria, the state of Victoria, which is where Melbourne is. So I did wonder how much it actually looked like Colorado because I'm not sure if it did. I haven't been to Colorado, but I've definitely been to Victoria. And yeah, it stars a few Australian actors as well. One of the guys, the smart-ass guy, 15, I saw him a few months ago. He's like a stand-up comedian here. Wow. So I picked his face. I was like, where do I know that guy from? So he's obviously jumped from the stand-up stage into a big budget Netflix movie. So good on him. I thought Reacher was great. He's basically playing Reacher, right?
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed the film. What could I say? I didn't have any preconceived notions, but I thought it was pretty fun to watch.
Were you annoyed to see that Jai Courtney was there, and then you're like, oh, but he dies in the first scene, so it's okay.
I was happy that they got rid of him pretty quickly. He's not my favorite.
Yeah, I know. We've discussed them before. Should have liked this film. I was so bored watching this. I could not engage with it for some reason. I did like the setup is actually good. And to your point, I think that not knowing the sci-fi twist makes it a little more fun to watch, which of course we're spoiling right now, but I don't know who else is going to be watching this. Otherwise, I'm sampling it. And I did think the design of the robot was very cool, and it's the way it works and stuff was very cool. But I just was not engaged. I just was, I called it bore machine on my my letterbox.
Oh no!
But
that's a shame.
And unfortunately, I mean, this is the same director who's made some Netflix films, but he's also done like the Hitman's Bodyguard, which I've never watched, but I've heard mixed things about as well. And I think that there's something weird about the pacing of the film. It just didn't. It seemed underdeveloped and then rushed at the same time. So I don't know if Netflix made them tighten it up, like shorten the movie to make it a little more pacey. But I thought it just, didn't really work for me. I literally had to rewind it to see the resolution because I had tuned out so much. I was like, oh, it's over? Let me rewind. I think I missed something here. So, but your mileage may vary. For me, it didn't quite work.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And it does spend about 10 or 15 minutes at the end setting up the inevitable sequel.
Yes, which I thought was kind of,
story's over.
Right.
I did like that there's no kind of squishy, gooey CG alien. It's just this war machine, which I really appreciated it. You could tell. I thought the effects were pretty good. It didn't have that Netflix kind of blur. I thought the machine worked really well. And it was pretty terrifying in parts. But yeah, as you say, if you like these things, maybe you like it, maybe you won't.
The one thing I do definitely compliment them is I think the effects work is very good. Like the machine looks great. And exactly like you described, there's been plenty of Netflix films from other filmmakers, even with higher budgets than this one, I'm pretty sure, that where the effects look very muddy and not very well done. And this is like completely, believable. I don't know if they use some kind of practical effects for some of this, like some model work, because I thought most of the machine work looks really good in these environments. I thought it was really cool.
Well, I'm a massive fan of that original robot in RoboCop, and that was all stop motion. Mm-hmm. I still think about that as being terrifying. So yeah, I like that it alluded to that.
Oh, and the last thing I was going to mention was, I know you saw Marty Supreme. Any other Oscar homework you've done in the meantime before next week's awards?
That's it. No, I'm trying to hunt down Sinatra, which I think has just come out at the cinemas here. And I'm trying to hunt down It Was Just an Accident as well. There are two that I haven't seen, which I'm really
That's on Hulu here in the US, so you might want to check Hulu to see if it's out there.
Yeah, I think I had a look and I couldn't find it, so maybe it will come out shortly. But yeah, Marty was the one that I really wanted to catch up on, and unfortunately, it left me kind of dry. So, yeah, I could appreciate the filmmaking. I could appreciate the acting. I think the middle section of the film where it's just him doing schemes and battling, and it was a fun, rollicking ride, but it just didn't. And the button at the end of the film didn't work for me. And I think if that button works for you, you'll love the film. But it just didn't give me enough. I couldn't see the arc of Chalamet's character from the start to the end. I didn't think he would be changed so profoundly by that final moment. But the filmmaking is incredible. Also, weird that they did that 80s music set in a 50s film. I thought that was jarring. I couldn't quite understand the effect of that and what they were going for. But the first third of the movie I thought was great, and the last third with kind of tournament, the showdown was great. But yeah, a couple of bits just left me a little bit dry on it. Yeah,
I was a big fan of the film. I should take that back. I gave the film like a 4-star rating when I first saw it, but then I didn't put it in my top 10 list right away because I'm like, I gave it for 4 stars out of 5 on my letterbox because of how well made it was, and the performances are incredible and all the period details. And just like in my mind, I just think of him like running down the street and all those, 1950s cars everywhere, which was another thing that really impressed me about A Complete Unknown, by the way, was just like recreation of New York City in that time period. So just like the scope of it, and, just it was beautiful looking. And again, Chalamet gives a great performance, and the energy of the film and all the crazy side stories, like them just going out to that house where, what's his name? Penn Jillette is out there, almost unrecognizable. And they take out part of his house. And just the way like crazy things keep compounding almost by like surprise. And all the performances are great. All these small parts, like, like Tyler, right? Tyler, the creator, is one of the performers.
He was great.
Well. Yeah, terrific. So all that stuff, I was just like so blown away by everything in the film. But then I struggled to put it on my top 10, although I had ranked it higher than some of the films that did make my top 10, because I felt like exactly what you were talking about, like having the 1980s music, but setting it in the 50s, was that just something like kind of like retro and a style? And also this whole idea of like this kind of American exceptionalism, especially in this period of time in the 50s, coming out of World War II, and then going to Japan and doing ping pong better than the Japanese in Japan. And I felt like they were like, making a political statement in a way, kind of a very brash America, this kind of view of American exceptionalism as a, and in this moment, historically, just in the current moment, it felt a little like tone deaf. So I was like, I don't know, something about this. It's playing with these images, and I don't know if it knows what it's doing. And then I turned around on the film. I'll send you this interview, by the way. Josh Safdie was interviewed about the film, and all of that is so intentional. Like he's drawing a parallel between the 80s and the 50s and the world we live in now. And everything he was doing was like very intentional. And it really made me feel like he wasn't just kind of doing something for style. He had like really intelligent choices for everything he did in the film. And I'm going to send you that interview because I think it might make the film like coalesce more for you, because it definitely did for me. And it made me bump the film up just from hearing that interview with him. So that I think that's it's interesting that I rarely have that kind of experience of like hearing a filmmaker talk about his own film, and it changes my mind about the film in a fundamental way.
Well,
although, like I said, even before then, I love. Has that?
I'm very interested in reading that because, I felt like there's more in it for me that I just didn't grab.
Yeah, I felt a little bit of the same, especially with the music. Like I knew he was making a choice there, but so many people use 80s music now. It's just kind of a thing people do. So I'm like, is he doing this on purpose, or is this just kind of like, he's just compressing history just for fun, or just like as a stylistic quirk? But no, he's very intentionally drawing parallels between these different time periods, which I thought was interesting. So I'll send you that interview. I thought was really clever. But even the first time around, like what a rush that film was, just like, kind of takes you by the collar, and, a blast to watch that first time around. But deeper than I expected, I should say, I experienced the first time around.
It did remind me of Anora in parts, because there's just
Mm-hmm.
these rollicking adventures that just go from one to the other that are all for a greater good, which happens later in the movie. But yeah, it's just you're getting caught up in these little schemes that he's running. It's he's very dogged and determined, isn't he?
And there's something being said about that as well. Okay, so back to Paradise. So we, question for you: did you watch Mindhunter, by the way?
I've seen most of Mindhunter, yeah.
As soon as Ed Kemper shows up here, I'm like, this guy's no good.
He's one of the serial killers in Mindhunter, isn't he? He's
the guy, the one who gets interviewed throughout the two seasons, basically. He's the prime.
Very creepy.
Yeah, you don't want him spending any alone time with Terry.
The amount of friend zoning that goes on, it must be terrible to live in that bunker and think about that. And also, old mate, the guy who's the the commander of the bunker, and he picks the hot nurse, and she turns out to be a lesbian. It's like these guys, the ultimate friend zone guys.
These guys, they're stacking the deck, and they still can't get it right. This explains why they're, Enos the penis is still alone after the time. Ravi, by the way, Enos, where does this come from? From Ravi to Enos. But Ed Kemper, what's the character's name before I keep calling him Ed Kemper in the show?
I'm calling him the mailman.
Gary? Is it Gary?
Don't know.
I believe it's Gary. So Gary the mailman, who loves County Crows. I thought this was really sweet, this flashback. You see him coming out of his shell. He's obviously antisocial, but he's afraid of these dogs. He's afraid of all dogs. But you see over time, he's coming out of his comfort zone. He likes being a mailman. He befriends this kid at one point whose parents are drug addicts.
And this all happens because he's made an online friend. Is that right?
Yeah, well, but I guess while he's playing this video game, he meets Enos, who basically is saying, first of all, I guess it starts off being like, hey, do you ever make zombie apocalypse preps? But then they're like, hey, they've been talking about this guy. He's been talking about, and I've heard rumors that they're building this bunker out in Colorado. And apparently people become very paranoid after the president is assassinated, which of course is what allows Cal to rise to that position in the first place. So we see it. It's very interesting, kind of like The Day, but to a lesser extent, doesn't have the same emotional impact that The Day episode had. But we see a little bit more of it here, seeing the outside world on that day and how people dealt with it. But this whole lead up of how he meets this guy and how the guy says, okay, we just need these number of people. I think it's interesting that one of Enos wants to have somebody who is like a military type person to be part of their squad. And it's Gary who says, well, what if he turns that gun on us, right? So it's like, okay, well, maybe that guy doesn't make the cut. And apparently he gets this squad of people together. He picks the right type of people. So good for him, good on him. Although over the course of the episode, I think it's interesting to see how he finally has a friend. He has the plan. He's the one who's corralled these people together. He's the reason they're all there. And then he kind of gets sidelined by the whole entire thing, right? So it's kind of a tragedy for Ravi, who ends up dead by the end of the episode, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, his plan worked. I mean, they all survived and they all had enough food, and it planned it out perfectly. So yeah, you're right. When you think of it like that, with that late turn in the episode, which turns old Gary from a lovable loser into he's a murderer, a lying murderer, is quite harsh. But yeah, thinking of Ravi, I wasn't really giving much thought to Ravi. I thought he was a bit of a dick, but yeah, everything turned out correct, and he was right about most things.
What was the T-shirt that he got at Christmas time? What did it say on there?
Something, I don't know, stop me, I'm coming, or something.
No, stop yelling at me, or I might come, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So this lady, she nailed Ravi with one T-shirt. Where did she find that T-shirt, by the way? I guess it's just all the unshipped things, right?
Yeah, exactly. All the packages that were left unopened and unposted. Yeah.
And that's where we get the Elvis Presley cover, by the way, is during the Blue Christmas. It'll be a Blue Christmas without you, because we had to get a Elvis cover in there. By the way, unlike last year, where it was so easy for me to just literally just pull up the internet and be like, hey, what are the covers in Paradise and yada, yada. And there's all these articles and Spotify playlists. I had so much trouble. I could not assemble what I'm going to try to assemble it for next week. I had so much trouble just getting a catalog of all the covers that have happened this season, which I don't know if that speaks to the fact that people aren't picking up on some of this season, or is it possible that this show is just not engaging people as like it did the first time?
I feel like it's the latter. Yeah, I don't know. I think season one was such a moment and it was such a surprise and people grabbed onto it. And this season, I don't think it's delivering what season one did. I think it's still good in a different way, but it's definitely not that type of series.
Yeah, I think I definitely feel like even in the cultural conscious that it's not like the type of thing like, oh my God, I cannot wait for next week. Like everybody's buzzing about the next episode of the show. I feel like the early ratings have come in. It's been doing well so far, probably on par or stronger than last season at the same point. But I just don't know if people are just watching it and, like curious as to what comes next. But I'm not sure if it, like you said, has that real fire that really seemed to intrigue everybody. I think that last season, of course, not only did it come out of nowhere, there was the big reveal after episode 1, which is probably the first time where everybody started saying like, you got to watch this show. You got to watch this show. But then I think the show really caught fire, even from our listenership on the podcast, when The Day dropped, which is the penultimate episode, which was just massive, utterly massive. Like our downloads were off the charts. So you just knew that everybody was talking about that show that entire week, And maybe we just haven't had that episode yet here on the podcast, or I should say on the show itself.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I mean, that's going to be so hard to replicate because that episode was such a standout.
Yeah. But they're going to try to, I think they're going to try to do something like that. I'm very curious, though, to see where the show is headed, because I also really like this episode. To your point, I like the fact that they're outside of the bunker, outside of paradise. But it also makes me think like, Darren, this is 5 episodes in. We got 3 episodes to go. Next week, almost certainly has got to pick up from where we are now, because Terry is still, we don't even know where she is yet. So of course there's going to be the direct follow with what happens here. So there's probably going to be a lot of revelations. We can speculate on that at the end. How's the interaction is going to go between him and these train people who obviously know who Link is. They talk about this boy who is named after a video game that they're all following. He's the real leader. And of course, Link is that person. They're headed to Colorado. And I presume that at that point we have Terry and Xavier and the baby on that train headed back to Colorado. But I think we're going to have to get to that point at the end of next week. And then that leaves, we have 2 more episodes left after that. And I honestly can't imagine that we're going to be deeply embedded back inside of paradise by the end of those 2 episodes. I feel like we're just going to be getting back there at that point.
Yeah, it's bizarre to think about, isn't it? The fact that they dropped 3 episodes straight away, and now we're already looking forward to the end. Well, they do yada yada, as you say, a whole lot of journeys across the country. So maybe
right.
once the train, they kind of reconvene at the train, back to the bunker, back to Link, and then the penultimate episode has got to be something similar to the day of last season, and something massive that we're going to find out about everything, including this time travel, whatever Sinatra's doing. Yeah. Thinking about it, I don't have much hope that any of that is going to get wrapped up.
He says, last week, Xavier said that he's having memories of things that haven't happened yet. And Annie says it's probably some kind of concussion or something that's happened to him from the plane crash. But what's interesting about it is what we see in those flashbacks are not flashbacks, there's some kind of flash forward, which again makes us think about Lost, which of course this episode again made me think about Lost, right? We're flashing back. We meet another character. We flash back to their time before. So it's yet another one of these type of call outs or references back to Lost. But if it's something that, how frustrated would you be if we end the season and, Xavier and Link are together and we see those scenes that we've seen multiple times of them looking at each other, walking down the hallway, and they get to this Alex project and then they go back in time? Would you be like, oh my God, we got to replay the whole season again? That'll be season 3, just a replay of season 2.
Amazing. I don't think you're far from the truth. That actually seems like a fairly efficient way of doing things. But Yeah, I don't know whether we need to go back and hit all the beats and figure out exactly where everybody gets their nosebleeds, and that's going to be the resolution of everything. I don't know. That seems like it's been done before in many different types of films and TV series, but I can definitely see him and Link marching towards Alex at the end of this season. That feels right, but I'm going to need some answers, I think.
I need something a little more concrete. I agree. By the end of the season, I can't just get him and Link like with a gun to Sinatra's head, and she's like, "You don't understand what's happening here. I made all this happen. Come with me." And then we end on the cliffhanger of the Alex machine. Stay tuned for next season. The only upside of that, if that indeed is what we get, is that they've already announced this is only going to be a 3-season series. So that means that we wouldn't, it's not going to be like Lost where they're going to spin this out for 7 seasons. If they do leave us on a cliffhanger for next season, it is to resolve things.
Okay, that's good to know, I guess.
Speaking of the whole time travel thing, you just talked about Primer. That's one of my favorite versions of Primer, whether it is Time Crimes or Primer or Back to the Future Part 2 or what's the third Harry Potter movie?
Yes, I like that one. Prisoner of Azkaban, yep.
That's my favorite, the most fun. I don't think it's scientifically accurate, but my most fun version of time travel is when characters go back in time to where the earlier versions of themselves are there, and they have to like manipulate time, and like they're they know where they're going to be, and like kind of have to set things straight. So I would love to see that, like Xavier, like his head popping up behind a rock behind the other current timeline Xavier. That'll be season 3. It'll be Back to the Future Part 2. Season 3 of Paradise.
Yeah, why not? I think it's always fun when when you're seeing that shadowy figure and you're like, oh, who's that? And then it's finally twigs it's him, but in the past or in the future. There's numerous movies like that where you just like, you catch up to it exactly where the writers want you to catch up to it. And it's always quite satisfying.
Okay, a couple more things I wanted to bring up. One is, let's talk about Terry for a little bit. So this actress, Enuka Akuma, who we saw very briefly in season 1 and few flashbacks. And now we've seen her a lot more in this season, of course, with that meet cute hospital flashback. And now, of course, she's like become like the heart of the story here. And to your point, we spend a lot of time with this whole new cast of characters in this episode of show. And it's one of the best episodes the show's had this season. So it's pretty interesting that they can pull this off.
I agree. I thought she did a great job. Apart from friend zoning old Gary in some of the most brutal ways possible. I don't think there's a good way of doing that, but she did the best that she could. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it felt similar to the Shailene Woodley episode where it's almost just standalone, all these brand new characters, and you start to care for them and you kind of understand what's going on and what the show is trying to do. I liked that the nurse and the mechanic got together and also very, very conveniently, Xavier could just handball the baby to them. I thought that was perfect to create a little family. That's great. I don't think we're going to see that baby ever again.
How hilarious is it that he is, first of all, still carrying this baby around? They just have him under a blanket. This baby doesn't cry, just totally chill, the chillest baby of all times. And I still don't know what he's feeding them. He's getting morning grubs and he's squishing them up into a bottle or something. I'm not sure how this baby's surviving. Also love the fact that he's smart enough that Xavier can read a person here. He's done this multiple times in the show. And he's just like, nah, I'm not handing this baby to this creeper.
Do not touch this baby.
Do not touch the baby. And then he spends like 2 minutes with these ladies and he's just like, here you go.
Yeah.
And and he says, well, it's because my wife thinks that reading to a child is a sacred act. And if she trusted these two with, reading to that boy, then I know she's chosen them. So by the way, that's like another dig at this guy, poor Gary, who's like, she's rejected him in multiple ways. And by the way, she's like not even present and she's rejected him because, she marked those people and not him. He must be feeling very bad about himself considering that he is, he knows that he's also killed his best friend.
It's very complicated, poor old Gary. Yeah, he's not having a good time of it. Not even, given the task. He couldn't do the voices. There's no way Gary could do the voices,
It's true. He has one voice, and barely that. I mean, contrasting this show to so many other shows we watch in these post-apocalyptic type movies or series, that again, we see what we would never see in The Walking Dead, for example, where it's like everybody's just like, I have to kill everybody. And if someone turns their back for a second, I'm definitely going to stab them in the back. And in this show, you have like, okay, obviously we saw some violence early on, but now they're having this, what do they call these barter type situations? What do they called it? They called it, not Thunderdome. It's Thunderdome.
Yeah. And the guy dressed like Tina Turner.
Exactly. Yes. So they have Thunderdome, and people are doing swap. It's like a swap meet, and they come up on this train at one point, and they immediately pull their guns because of course everybody's paranoid. But then after a second, it's like, come in and have my disgusting soy coffee, and let's talk about things. So in other words, in this show, most people, even this guy who's killed his friend, these are caring people who are making, even when they make bad choices, they are actually compassionate, and that's why they're surviving and helping each other out. So it is nice to see that this is probably a much more realistic version of how people would start to rebuild society. So I do appreciate that, even though Gary, of course, makes some pretty bad choices here at the end of the episode.
But it is refreshing to see. It really is. I mean, the Barter town was fine. You thought things were going to get aggro with the biker, but they're friends, so that's fine. He's happy to give the Elvis's gun over. He goes, "Not my king. He's not my king," or something. I thought that was quite fun to barter the gun, and also the train people. Yeah, as you say, I mean, they've got a goal in mind, and they don't have to kill everybody just to get to it. They're not just vicious savages, which we're so used to seeing. It's quite nice. And yeah, Gary and Ravi, they just waltz up there with guns, immediately get ambushed and have to drop their guns straight away. They were a bit too cocky there. But I wonder if the train lady, she seems like she's a bit of a character. She might come into it next episode a bit more and maybe allow or deny access to Xavier's wife.
Yeah, and let's speculate on next week. But before then, I did actually locate the actual T-shirt. The T-shirt says, "Don't yell at me, I'll come." But so what do we speculate for next week? And I'm a little confused as to what exactly happened here at the end. So Ravi is kind of excited by the fact that, oh my God, this is going to work out perfectly. He's basically like, I cannot wait until Terry leaves. Deep down inside, that's how he feels. Although they do have a nice scene between the two of them where he's like, I respect you, even though I didn't like you, but I do respect you and respect what you've done. He's kind of a jerk. Like you said, he smashes her radio. It's like she basically never was able to receive any messages on that radio after sending that broadcast because he's paranoid that someone might track them through it. But nonetheless, by the end, they've made amends. She's ready to leave anyway. She's making biofuel out of mold. But she only has one barrel. She needs two more, but she's getting there. And then this train rolls in. And wouldn't you know it, it's actually headed exactly where she wants to go. But of course, this is information that Terry finds out and Ravi finds out. And Ravi's like, this is great for her. She could just get on that train and she's going to Colorado. That's where they're all going to the same place. And of course, Terry freaks out, thinking like, or Gary, I should say, freaks out, and realizing that Terry is really going away, even though she's planning on going away anyway. So I'm not sure what his long-term plan is here, and kills Ravi to keep her around, even though she was planning to leave. So that's my first question is, why be so rash in his decision-making, first of all? And second of all, what's actually happened to her? We see that Bean, this boy that they've adopted, our boy, I love when he says that in Xavier speed, like, what? Our boy. And so that Bean sees this. So I assume he's going to go and tell Terry. So does that mean that Terry makes a break for it and goes to the train people? And now that he wants Xavier to go in there, guns a-blazing, to do what? Like, as soon as he runs into Terry, Terry's going to be like, what are you doing? People are going to take me. They're taking us to Colorado. So I think this is a really bad plan for Gary.
I totally agree. It's a really bad plan. But yes, 3 years of sexual frustration does
This is what
very,
happens.
very evil things to a man.
Unfortunately, when people yell at him, he doesn't come. And therefore, if that was the case, he wouldn't be so frustrated.
I think you're right, even though it seems a little bit ludicrous because as soon as Xavier goes in there, guns are blazing, it's not going to fix any kind of relationship between her and Gary. I think Gary is at the end of his tether, and he did shoot Ravi just purely out of blind passion, which is a bit silly. I don't think he was really thinking ahead. He doesn't seem like he's the person that thinks ahead. That was Ravi. Just the fact that he grabbed the boy and he grabbed Terry right at the death, at the final moment of the day. And Ravi's like, what the hell are you doing, man? We've been planning this for years. And he stuffs it up. Yeah, I don't think he's much of a thinker, the old mailman.
Do you read this the same way as I do? Because, like I said, a few things. One is Terry was planning to leave in his post office truck, right?
Yes.
With the biofuel,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
So she was planning to leave anyway, train or not. And so I guess he was thinking that maybe he could sabotage the car and then keep her there somehow. So maybe that was what he was thinking. I don't know. We don't have enough information there. So that's the first question mark I have. The second one is now, of course, he is alone. And that happened 12 days ago. So she's not with him. So is she with the train people? And why haven't the train people left in 12 days, I should say?
They said that they were going to spend 2 weeks sussing things out before they left. So that fits that timeline.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense that he could easily sabotage the truck or, get rid of the biofuel. That's easy done. So he probably had that planned. But yeah, I do think he's just got Xavier there to just stir shit up and stop this train. He thinks that Xavier goes in there, he's going to stop the train from leaving because of the story that he told.
Or maybe that still wouldn't make sense. I was going to say maybe he thinks one scenario is that Xavier can bust in there and then he can get the upper hand or something and get Terry out of there, although she's not going to be cool with that, right? The other possibility, of course, is that Xavier might die in the battle. And then you would say, well, now she can be with me because he's not a hang up anymore, but she still has to go to Colorado. She has kids out there, right? So none of this, I mean, I don't know what his plan is, but it's not a good plan. Whatever it is, it's not a good plan.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. Yeah, for sure.
By the way, have you been watching, on the podcast, we've been watching DTF St. Louis. Have you been watching this show by chance?
No, I saw it on my HBO yesterday. Is it worthwhile?
It's okay. But the reason I was curious if you had been watching it is speaking of like plans that are not very well thought out, that's also happening on that show too. So I just recorded a conversation with Sona on that. And unfortunately, these shows are like right on top of each other. So I'll probably delay publishing that conversation till tomorrow. But anyway, I was just going to make a correlation between like these thought out plans that when you like scratch the surface, you're like, not a good plan, people. Not a good plan. Yeah, and that's where we leave things. Anything else we wanted to shout out here? Any kind of funny moments or any kind of other details here? I think that Ravi did a pretty good job of assembling. You need somebody who you need a healer. This is very much like playing a video game, by the way, right? You have a healer, you have a farmer. You have like, this is like putting together like one of these role-playing games.
I do find it interesting where they never really show how difficult it could be in there to live with these people for 3 years. I mean, the only passing of time was the boy's height, Bean's height,
yes.
that would get high. And then I think we see the Christmases. So that's one way of passing the time. But it must just be so difficult day to day to have your little chores that you're doing and to try to have some semblance of normal life or joy in those communities. Or maybe it is actually a very simple life and actually quite easy to pass the time because you've got your set tasks you need to do every day to keep everything running. And maybe it's not boring at all. Maybe it is just a simple life that is fulfilling.
Yeah, you know what? My grandparents were farmers and we would go spend the summers there sometimes when we were very young. And yeah, you're just busy all day long and you have your routine. And these people are stuck indoors, but I guess they were painting. They made their little paints and their little crafts and they had their little family there that they were making the best of it. And I guess you could just have gratitude and be like, well, at least we're alive. And they're only cooped up down there for those 21 days. Once the 21 days have passed, they can at least go upstairs. They obviously can't go very far because the climate is still not, for years is not that nice. But I mean, they're only really cooped up for 21 days, and then you could start scavenging locations near your bunker. So there's little adventures to be had.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense. I assume that they were in that box for 3 years, but if you can
3
go
years
out for a
underground,
run,
I got 3 years in one room. I don't know if we can. That's like prison time, I guess. That's worse than prison time. You can at least go outside for exercise in prison.
I was going to say that's how frustrated those guys are. They're just, I cannot do this
for sure.
anymore.
7 people in the room, they can't even help themselves out.
Yeah. All right.
Where are they showering? Where are these people showering, by the way?
That's another good point.
Is there a shower at the post office? I don't think so. That's not there really. It doesn't seem to be standard equipment. I mean, some even post offices. I mean, if it's a big one, this seems to be like a post. It's not just like a standard post office. It seems to be like a post office, like an actual processing center. You do have bathrooms, right? And sometimes they have showers as well, because you can imagine, if you're out and it's a very hot day or something, you may need to freshen up even during your shift. So, I mean, office buildings oftentimes have actual showers in some of the bathrooms. So maybe, it's not like this is just like your local, in our town, our local post office where it's just a handful of people working there. But this is like a much bigger facility. So yeah, maybe they have a shower. And maybe because it's a fallout shelter, maybe they've included some kind of shower facility. Who knows? Yeah,
totally. That makes a lot of sense. And you think after a hard day delivering mail and being attacked by dogs, you'd need a nice shower before you come home to your family, I would have thought.
I mean, you definitely have sinks and such, so at least you can rinse yourself off that way. But yeah, not too much hanky-panky going on there. It doesn't seem to be. I don't know if they have selected the population there for hanky-panky. So they did get a cute nurse, but of course, like you said, didn't really work out.
Ravi tried, but yeah, ultimately failed in that regard, which is probably better off for everyone, really.
And that's also, that's the other thing that's probably a better idea than getting a bunch of 18-year-olds in this version of the story, because they would all be hooking up left and right, and then that would be distracting in its own way. We have some farming to do over here, people. We need the 65-year-old lady with the farming skills.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that Ravi says he didn't like Terry, he never liked her. I mean, is that just because she was an interloper into that group? I mean, really, she's a lovely lady. She's very smart. Yep. Maybe he just feels threatened by her brains and also the fact that she was not supposed to be there in the first place. But I thought he was pretty harsh to her, and destroying the radio like that, I thought was pretty silly.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what happened to Ravi is, like I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, that he got sidelined on his own project, right? And everybody has become essential except for him. And by the way, I think that's very intentionally that they give us this psychological view of him so that we do believe for most of the episode that he is the one who betrayed them because of some kind of sour grapes, or maybe he wanted out and they were like, well, hand her over or something, and then we'll help you out. But that's not what it turned out at all, right? It just turned out to be Gary, antisocial Gary, just could not let his soulmate go, and his child, their boy, our boy. So I mean, that's his family disappearing on him, right?
Well, that all makes sense. We just got to give it to Xavier, who knew that something was up immediately. As you say, he's got a good grasp of people straight away, and yeah, Gary just did not pass the test.
Oh, and speaking of that, that's the last thing I'll ask you too, because that really sets up next week. Obviously, at this point, he's like, okay, let's go blow things up over there and rescue my wife. And I guess theoretically, Gary's going to be behind them, ready to kill him and take his opportunity to kill Xavier or something. I'm not sure exactly what his full plan is, if he even has one. But my question to you is, like I said earlier, Xavier gets a pretty good read on people. He's figured out most of these folks ahead of time. Although I guess he didn't know what was going on with Billy and with Jane either. Jane has somehow fooled everybody, although I'm not sure why. Just because she cries. And then everybody just says, oh, she's crying again. I guess we'll let her kill a few more people. But somehow, in general, he seems to have gotten a pretty good read on things. So do you think he's going to fall into this guy's trap, or he is a step ahead of him?
That's a very good question. Sure, I can't see him falling for the trap. I just can't. Xavier, I would be disappointed in Xavier if that's what happens. But I can see the show making you think that that's going to happen, and then Xavier turns the tables and is on top of it all the way along. That would be more satisfying to me. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a shame. And these train people could be really lovely people, and
Right.
Xavier's going to go in there with his homemade bombs and just blow them apart. I can't see that happening either. This show does do a good job of changing things up, so hopefully it is something interesting to watch for sure next week.
And I mean, they got rid of Annie. Do you think that we spent a lot of time setting up this character? Do you think that Gary is in the show from now on, or do you think he's out after next week? Whether they leave him behind or whether he dies during this jailbreak or whatever it is. And what, if you had to guess, is he going to be around for the long term or no?
I don't think so. No, I think they introduced all these other characters like last season, the librarian and Annie this season, who they got rid of pretty quickly, to be honest. She wasn't really in it that much. I can see
half the season. She was in half the season. You just forget because it's only 2 weeks, but it's half the season. Half the episodes.
All in the same location.
Right.
But no, look, we see that Gary's a snake, and I think he's going to get what's coming to him very soon, and it's going to be satisfying.
It would be funny next week if Xavier goes in there, guns a-blazing, kills like half of the people on the train, and Terry's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then he's like, whoops. Oh, can we take the train to Colorado? And then he'll be like, hell no. You and your baby and your wife are walking to Colorado.
It doesn't seem like that's the type of show to do that, but there could be an element of disagreement or something like that, maybe. We've been waiting for Terry and Xavier to reunite. Are we going to get that next week?
Yeah,
I think they might drag it out even more, but I don't know if they're gonna do that, because that's what we've been waiting for this whole season. Maybe the train leaves, takes Terry with him, and Xavier's got to catch up at the bunker in the future. I don't know.
That'd be interesting if the train is departing, because it is their 2-week period. So it'd be interesting if it's departing, and maybe he just jumps on the train and he's working his way through the train, and maybe Gary's with him. Maybe Gary's on this trip to Colorado and they're trying to keep their head low because he doesn't know what's going on. But anyway, interesting. I'm intrigued. I actually don't know. It could be any one of those things I just outlined. It could just be, misunderstanding. He knows exactly what's going on, pulls the gun on Gary. And it's like, tell me, Gary, what's really going on? And then everything gets resolved. There's a big hug and a kiss. They get on the train, head out to Colorado. Or like I said, it could be the train is departing and he's there at the last minute, and he hops on the train and then he's like hiding on the train. And eventually we wait another week before we actually see the reunion between the two of them. But it's possible. And that would keep Gary in the show for another week or so. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking on Gary, I mean, why couldn't he have just jumped on the train? There's nothing keeping him where he was. He's got no family or anything. I mean, he could just jump on the train and go to Colorado with Terry. I don't know what's stopping him there. I'm just thinking whether Terry is even with these train people. Maybe Gary's got her locked up somewhere. I don't know.
That's what's so weird about it, is that Ravi is the one who's like, I don't want anything to change. So I don't understand, to your point, if he's like, she's my soulmate and she wants to go back to her family, she doesn't know. And now he knows, of course, he knows that Xavier's alive, but she doesn't know that. She's going back hoping that the family's there. And like you said, if he's like, look, everybody else has left the post office and you guys are my family now. I'm going to Colorado. They have a whole train. I don't think they're going to be like, you can't come to Colorado with us. Who cares? So it's one more person. I don't. Yeah. Once again, Gary has done some really, really bad decisions. Almost as bad as the decision making that Jane made when she tried to set up. Which, by the way, we have to have that too, right? I don't necessarily want to see the resolution to that because it's so silly. But we do have to have a resolution for that this season as well. Though, like, how did Jane think she's going to get away with this frame up? But well, I guess that's going to be resolved at some point in the future as well.
I did not miss that storyline so much that I completely forgot about it. So
I know. Understandable. The sooner it's forgotten. If the show forgets about it, by the way, it would not be too bad of an idea.
Fine with that.
Exactly. All right. So I guess we will figure that all out. And then for next week. And what's coming out? Oh, I saw Scream 7.
Yes, I haven't seen it.
I just wanted to mention this one thing to it, which there's obviously people who are upset about some of the decisions that were made with the casting, et cetera, because of, some controversial statements that were made, et cetera. So when there was this and I've liked every single Scream movie up until now. So when I went into this and I was like, well, I'm probably going to like this one too, because I've liked all the other ones. And then there's been a very negative feedback on this film. And then I thought that the first kill, obviously there's a kill at the beginning of the film, like there is every other film, I thought was really good, very tense. I was like, I love that. That was good. And then they basically start to repeat the first movie, scene for scene, practically. And I'm loving it, by the way, because I'm like, ooh, what are they doing with this? How are they trying to refresh the series by like going back to the beginning? And I texted you this, which was the last third of the film. I like felt all the goodwill for the movie, like leaving my body for like the whole last half hour of the film, because I was stunned that, okay, they're repeating the first film because they have nothing else to do, first of all. And second of all, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but there's always been, even when you don't love the resolution, there's always a kind of clever reveal of the killer, right? Like, I got to tell you, this is like the laziest, least interested the show has ever been, the film has ever been with, like, who the killer is. And there's nothing interesting about the way they resolve things. And like I said, I went from being like, I don't know why everybody's hating this so much, which is where I was about halfway through the film. And the entire last half hour, all the goodwill I had been like putting aside with this whole entire franchise up until this point, really, really disappointed. But you know what? It's going to make a shit ton of money and they will make more of them. And hopefully the next one is better.
It's made so much money, which I'm really surprised at. But yeah, my daughter is like, can we go and see Scream 7? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, why not? But yes, I've heard mostly bad reviews. Actually, yours is the most positive review I've actually heard of the film so far. So I think it might be one for DVD.
Yeah, I think it's definitely easily a rental, and it probably will feel less disappointing as a rental. So might as well just wait. At this point, and by the way, as massive as it was in its opening week, a lot of it was, I think people just didn't want to get spoiled on it because people were intentionally spoiling the film as kind of that online backlash. And part of it because the word of mouth is not very strong compared to the previous films. And part of it because it just was so front loaded because so many people didn't want to be spoiled on things. And so it's, had a huge drop off from week 1 to week 2. But again, it's already made all the money it needs to make to justify another film anyway. But definitely, you could tell that people have not been that enthusiastic about it. So all that is to say, it's going to be on streaming soon enough. So don't rush out to see it if you haven't. But man, like that ending, yeah, I was just like, are you kidding me? I was so irritated. And if you do see it, I have a few more things to say about it, but I'll wait until you've actually watched it when we discuss it.
Interesting. Okay, well, it's good that it's good to talk about. On the horror tip, I saw 2 movies on the weekend: Influencer and Influences.
Yes.
So
yes.
as a double feature, which I thought were pretty nice, lean horror, psychological horror, small casts, exotic locales, with quite a astounding lead actress who was born with quite a prominent birthmark on one side of her face, which plays a little bit into the story, but not as much as you would think. And I thought it was a great canvas for her to do some really interesting work. Pretty, just like I say, pretty lean horror movies, but I thought were both quite effective. A little bit White Lotus-y vibes in Thailand for the first one. Second one's in Paris and Bali. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, I've seen them both. I'm a big fan of the first film. Low stakes, but I was really impressed with the first film. Didn't think the ending is perfect, but the rest of the film is really strong. I love some of the thematic things it's saying. And I loved the first half of the second film. It kind of goes off the rails for me by the end. And a couple of things, I mean, like the lead actress, this villain basically, is a stunning and beautiful woman, but has this very pronounced birthmark, like you mentioned, which makes it a little non-believable that she's incognito for so long, to be honest. So, they said, as soon as you describe her in the most obvious way you figure people would connect the dots pretty quickly. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the way that the second film wrapped up. And I really loved the first half of the film, where it is I love the whole talented Mr. Ripley conceit in general in popular culture. Just that, whether it's the series U, or whether it's the recent Ripley, or the Mangala Mr. Ripley series from like 25 years ago, film, I should say. It's been done over and over again. But I love that concept, this idea of like someone who wants to infiltrate this class of people that they despise, right? And you see it like in Triangle of Sadness as well. So anyway, I just like this a lot. And I love that that's what they were playing with in the first half of influencers. And then it's less interesting as it goes on for me. But I would definitely see another film. I'm very interested in seeing more of them, even though I didn't love the second half of this second movie. But in general, I'm on board for this franchise.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw a couple of horror movies too, and I can't remember them. I'll put some notes together so I remember them for next time. We can touch base. There's been so many horror films this year, so maybe
so many.
Practically like a weekly
can't see everything.
Release. Yeah, I saw Crime 101. That was a good one. I like that.
Sorry, I missed that. Which one was that?
Crime 101, not a horror movie. Crime 101 with.
Oh yes. That's Hemsworth is in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
I liked it. I thought he was good. People saying it's like a modern Heat. It definitely is playing in that sandbox. Another movie that I absolutely love, Heat. And I'm like, it's not Heat. It's trying to be. It's not quite getting there. But my general opinion is like, hey, a B+ Heat is pretty damn good in my book. So I was a fan. And by the way, I saw this movie in the theater. I did not know what was going to happen next. Like I was on the edge of my seat multiple times. There's a car chase that's awesome, really well done. I like heists in general. I like these type of films. I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances were all solid. And the last thing is the movie's a little over 2 hours. And I looked at my watch with about half an hour left in the movie. And I love this experience. With about half an hour left in the movie, I literally looked at my watch because I'm like, everything I thought they were going to do in this movie, they have already done. So I don't know what's coming. Like I have no idea what could possibly be the last half hour of this movie. And it's not the strongest part of the film, I'd say. Definitely not the strongest part of the film. But lots of surprises and real solid, tense, good action. I liked it.
Great. Okay, that's a good recommendation because that's playing everywhere here at the moment.
Yeah, and that's coming to Amazon Prime. It's an Amazon film, so it's coming there pretty soon. So anyway, if you miss it in the theaters, check it out on Amazon Prime.
And talking about Heat, I saw there's a cast announcement for Heat
2. Yes. Oh my God, so excited. It could be terrible. It could be terrible, but it's
that cast is pretty insane.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan of Michael Mann's most recent film, which we both saw. Oh man, what's it called? The car racing one with Adam
that
Driver.
Stuff. Yeah. I actually quite like that, but
I know you did. You liked it better than I did. Yeah. This is very different, though. Obviously, going back to Heat, and the Heat also the book that it's based on, which Michael Mann is a co-writer on. It's a flashback and a flash forward. So there's a younger version of these characters, older version of the characters who survived the Heat movie. So it seems a little, difficult that they're going to be able to pull this off. But man, I will be the first one online to go see that movie. So either way, I'll definitely go check it out, no matter what.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can revisit whenever that is. I mean, it's probably at least a year away now, but we can revisit Heat, which I'd love to do before then.
Well, you need something to look forward to, don't you?
Absolutely.
In these times. Yeah.
Yeah, in these times where there's always a ray of a silver lining. We got to talk about the whole Warner Brothers Paramount merger as well with that health situation as well. But anyway, lots to talk about in the future. But for now, we'll touch base again next week. We'll talk about Paradise and maybe start previewing some of the stuff that's coming after Paradise. Let's start having that conversation as well. Just previewing some of the things that are coming in April.
Great. Looking forward to it.
All right, Darren. Thanks again for the conversation.
Thanks, Victor. Cheers.
Thank you.